Welcome to my online American Government class. My name is Kim Groves and I will be your instructor for this course. In this video, we will have a brief introduction to the study of American government and also define what is unique about American government. And also define what is unique about American government. Again, as I said, my name is Kim Groves, and I'm a matriculated teacher and taught in 2 states over 13 years. I graduated with a bachelor's degree from Salisbury University in 1998 and then received my Master of Arts in Teaching from the same institution in 2003. I started teaching in 2003 and got married in 2006. I changed school systems when my husband and I moved to Lynchburg, Virginia, and remained in the Bedford County, Virginia system until I left in 2017. I left for 2 reasons. The first was that my husband had been transferred to Florida and we were moving. The second was that my daughter was 6 months old and I wanted to be present for her firsts. And I realized that as a full-time teacher of other children, I couldn't do that. I also knew that I couldn't teach against my beliefs in Florida. And at the time, Florida adhered to Common Core, and it was a philosophy. Let me adjust my camera here just a little bit. And I realized that I couldn't, it was an educational philosophy that I vehemently disagreed with. And I knew it was a philosophy that was detrimental to child development. So in 2018, my husband was transferred yet again to Northern Virginia, but by this time I suffered the loss of my mother. We made the choice to make our home in my late mother's home in Maryland, and I would take on the responsibility of helping my father, who had lost my stepmother a few months prior, with his business. My father passed away in 2020, and I took on the full responsibility of the business and began tutoring part-time. I then rediscovered how much I enjoyed teaching and looked for ways to teach and tutor. I built a staff to help with my other business, and I tutored more full-time. Along with my staff, I took on the full-time responsibility and care of 2 teenage boys whom I affectionately call my adopted sons, Seth and Kyle. I wouldn't change a thing about my crazy, chaotic life, and I'm thrilled to add virtual teacher to the mix. If you follow me for my world history and my American history classes, you'll see I always will post an agenda of what we're going to cover in these videos, so you'll know what we're going to be talking about. So we're going to cover what is American government, why we study American government, what you're going to learn, the themes in American government, materials you're going to need, and ways to contact me. So what is American government? Durham Tech defines it this way, which is a study of the origins, development, structure, and functions of American national government, which is a very basic definition of the way all governments function. So this is like a basic definition of government on a national scale. Why do we study American government, or why should we study American government? So it helps, Time for Learning puts it this way. It helps students establish the origins and founding principles of American government, and you'll closely examine the Constitution and its amendments, and then investigate the development and sweep of civil rights and liberties. And our lessons will acquaint you with the significant Supreme Court decisions to demonstrate the impact and importance of constitutional rights, and you're guided through the function of government today and the role of citizens in the civic process. So I'd look at it this way. If you understand how the government works at a basic level, you have a reason to be involved and invested and have a stake in wanting to preserve it. And even if you decide to run for some kind of a government office. And I have no idea why my lighting is a little off today. Oh my gosh. So what are you going to learn in this course? So our look at American government is going to be very comprehensive. We're going to be discussing the foundations of our government and discuss the beginnings of our American form of government. We will then discuss the Constitution, its form and layout, and then move to the 3 branches of our federal government. We're going to discuss civil liberties, citizenship, and government by the people. We're going to dive into elections, the economy, and the government, and take a brief look at state and local governments before finishing out with comparative political systems. And along the way, we're going to be taking side quests into areas of contemporary concern that pertain to that lesson's topic. And we're going to be using Magruder's American Government, the 13th edition from Savas Learning Company. Now, you don't, again, have to purchase this book, but if you do, I got mine from Amazon, but as always, you can search the internet for the cheapest price. So what are our themes in American government? Now, American government differs from my American history and world history courses in that there's really only one major theme, but it's broken down into a couple of sub-themes, which we're going to explore briefly here. Our first theme is the main theme, which is limited government. Notice my big no symbol here. The main theme is limited government. American government is based upon the broad idea of limited government. That is the idea of the government that governs best governs least. It's also the belief that the government should have certain restrictions in order to protect the individual rights and civil liberties of the citizenry. It's the overarching theme in American government, but comprises many sub-themes, which we'll explore briefly. So our framers believed that a smaller central government was best and that the state governments were better able to handle issues regarding the general population than the larger federal government. So they stated that exactly what the federal government should be doing versus what and left a lot of it up to the states, which has sort of gotten turned around during the years, and we've gotten more and more federal government involvement in our daily lives. And you'll find that I'm very much, and we'll get into what's called strict and loose interpretation of the Constitution. I'm very much a strict constructionist, which means I believe that you should look at the words on the page, and that's what the framers wrote, and that's what they meant. So your word is your bond. I'm very much like that kind of person. So, okay, our first subtopic is natural rights, and I have here the Liberty Bell. Natural rights are sometimes called unalienable rights, and are rights that the framers of the Constitution felt all people were born with and can and should never give up. They felt that the main purpose of government was to uphold and protect these natural rights. And they include such things as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And many people say that the Declaration of Independence also falls under the category of a founding document. So sometimes we'll throw the Declaration of Independence, into the mix of a founding document. So you'll sometimes hear that thrown in there as well. So because that really was the founding document of the nation. Then the Constitution is more of the governing document. So these are things our framers felt were given by God rather than granted by man. So they're given by God rather than granted by man, hence natural rights. And hence the term unalienable. So they are given by God rather than granted by man. And we're going to go into deep detail about that. Our next subtopic is the social contract. So a social contract is when the American people and the new government agree to certain things. Now the people agreed to give up some things, not their natural rights, in exchange for protection from the new government. The people would also have to see the new government as an authority that they must respect. Now this is kind of like, we're going to be dealing with a lot of history here, so when we talk about this, I'm going to be bleeding in some American history into this. And the American people agreed to a social contract between themselves and the new federal government. The idea of a social contract was put forward by political philosophers such as John Hobbes, John Locke, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. And they were really the major Enlightenment thinkers of the day, that the framers relied on to create our form of government and to declare our independence. Our next topic is popular sovereignty, and you see here I've got the preamble to the Constitution. We the people. Notice it is the biggest text on that page. It is the biggest text in the entire Constitution. Popular sovereignty is the idea that the power of the government comes from the people, hence we the people, not the other way around. In other words, the government doesn't give you power, you give the government power, and it only gets whatever power you choose to give it. In other words, the government doesn't allow people to do things. The people elect representatives that are supposed to do what the government wants them to do, or, you know, that's the idea. If the government violates the will of the people, the social contract, the Americans have the right to change that. This idea is firmly entrenched in our Declaration of Independence, like I said, which is also considered a founding document. So popular sovereignty is the idea that the power of government comes from the people. If the people become dissatisfied with the government, they have a right to change the government. The people dictate to the government, and all powers of the government are derived from the people, not the government. And I think that we've kind of gotten away from that, where we think the government gives us our powers, and that is completely not what the deal is. Our next topic is Republicanism. It's our last subtopic, Republicanism. It's the idea that the people elect representatives to represent their will. And this is Republicanism with a small r, not a big R. So I hear a lot of people say, well, we live in a democracy. And I'm like, no, we don't, Chief. We don't live in a democracy. That's not true. We live in a republic. We democratically elect our representatives to represent our interests, but we do not live in a true democracy. And we have nearly 350 million people in this country. So a true democracy would be impossible to accomplish. So we live in what we call representative democracy. That is, we elect people to represent us in the government. In a nation of nearly 350 million people, direct democracy is nearly impossible on a large scale. Hence, why we have a Republican form of government. So in other words, we don't, all 350 million of us, get together and make decisions, because you would have about 350 million different opinions. Probably not that many, but you get the idea. So these last 5 slides were brought to you by Khan Academy, and you can find more information on their website, which is a great website. I've used it in the past with my other classes, and I find it to be like an awesome resource. I've also taught myself some math through there, because I am not a math person, so I'm not afraid to admit it. Okay. So as always, I copied and pasted these slides because they are always ring so true. What do you need to bring with you to class? You need to bring a positive attitude and a willingness to learn. So I want you to put aside your preconceived notions of what you think American government is all about. And I want you to come here with me with an open mind. Be willing to say, oh, I never thought of it that way. I didn't know that. Oh, wow, that's a neat way of looking at it. Oh, that really changed what I thought. Or I didn't really know it was that way. I thought it was a different way. So, and bring a positive attitude. That's all I ask, is that you come at me with a positive attitude. And be willing to learn. Put your preconceptions, leave them at the door, please. Optional, the text I mentioned at the beginning of the video, a notebook and pen and pencil for notes if you want to, and a folder to keep any printouts in. As always, I'm going to put printouts, suggested printouts, in my webpage, which I'm going to cite on my next slide. And you can always use them to enhance your learning. So how can you get up with me? The 3 ways to contact me: email me at mayorofshadpoint@gmail.com, leave a comment on my YouTube video, and visit my blog website at fairandbalancedhistory.blogspot.com or at kimgroves.net. Also, like and subscribe so you always know when I drop new content. And as always, on my website, I will leave a file with enhanced activities. These videos are designed, if you're using them for homeschool, they are designed to be a complete lesson. If you're using them in a classroom setting, they are designed to be a complete lesson in and of themselves. So you can go, you can print out the activities, they're ready to go. So you just have to print, go, and that's it. So these are great for homeschool. This is great for your own learning and enhancing your own learning. This is great for a sub activity. These are all my videos are meant to be just very quick, very easy activities. And I try to keep them, I'm going to try to keep them about 45 minutes so that they are class friendly. So I hope you enjoy this. Again, like and subscribe so you know when I've dropped new content. Leave a comment if you have any questions. I'll do my best to answer. And head on over to my blog and my Blogspot website to check out if I have any files. I'll usually upload files the day I upload the video, or usually the next day if there are any files. And I do believe I will have some files for this video. I will always try to let you know in each video if I do indeed have a blog, if I do indeed have enhancements on my for a video. So just head on over there. You can always shoot me a question too if you have any questions or comments. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope you have a great day. And again, like and subscribe.